You ever meet someone who seems almost too perfect at first? Everything flows effortlessly, the chemistry feels electric, and yet somewhere in the back of your mind there's this quiet unease you can't quite name. Most people ignore that feeling. They push it aside, tell themselves they're overthinking, convince themselves that doubt is just fear of good things. But what if I told you that instinct is trying to protect you? What if those subtle signals you're picking up are actually patterns revealing themselves? Patterns that could save you years of confusion, emotional exhaustion, and heartbreak if you just pay attention. The reality is that people carry their history with them, whether they realize it or not. Past experiences shape how we approach intimacy, trust, and connection. And while everyone deserves compassion for their journey, you also deserve to make informed decisions about who you invite into your life. This isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing when someone's past has created patterns that might fundamentally conflict with the kind of relationship you're trying to build. I've spent years helping people navigate relationships. And I've watched countless individuals realize far too late that they missed obvious signs. They confused intensity for intimacy, availability for connection, and familiarity for genuine vulnerability. They thought everything was fine until suddenly it wasn't. Don't let that be your story. Understanding these patterns early gives you the clarity to make choices that actually serve your well-being. So let me walk you through 7 patterns that reveal when someone has developed relationship habits that might be incompatible with deep, lasting connection. The fourth one is particularly insidious because it operates beneath the surface of consciousness. And by the time most people recognize it, they're already emotionally entangled. The first pattern shows up in how quickly someone becomes comfortable with physical intimacy. Now, hear me carefully here, because this is where most people get it wrong. When someone moves toward physical closeness with remarkable ease, many interpret this as confidence, liberation, or strong mutual attraction. But there's a significant difference between genuine comfort and the absence of natural protective boundaries. Healthy individuals who value meaningful connection typically have an instinctive guardedness around intimacy. Not because they're repressed or fearful, but because they understand its emotional significance. They recognize that physical closeness carries weight and meaning that develops alongside emotional trust and vulnerability. When those natural boundaries are completely absent, when someone approaches intimacy with the casualness of ordering coffee, it often signals that those boundaries have been crossed so many times they've essentially dissolved. Think about it like a lock that's been forced repeatedly. Eventually it stops providing any protection at all. The same thing happens with emotional and physical boundaries. Repeated experiences without emotional foundation strip away the significance, transforming intimacy from something deeply felt into something merely performed. Watch for the subtle indicators. Does the person show moments of genuine vulnerability when conversations turn intimate? Do you notice hesitation, processing, or natural nervousness that suggests they're navigating meaningful emotional territory? Or does everything flow with practiced ease, like they've rehearsed this exact scenario countless times before? Do they touch you with familiarity that seems disproportionate to how long you've actually known each other? That's not necessarily chemistry. Sometimes it's simply muscle memory. The real danger lies in mistaking this practiced comfort for profound connection. You might think you found something rare and special, when actually you're experiencing a well-worn script with yourself cast in a familiar role. The words feel natural to them because they are natural the rhythm, the timing, the physical cues have all been performed before it. Here's what makes this particularly difficult. When physical intimacy loses its emotional significance, it's nearly impossible to restore. You cannot recreate the magic of genuine firsts with someone who has made those moments routine. The emotional exclusivity that bonds people together is already compromised before the relationship even begins. The second pattern manifests as a permanent emotional barrier, and this one deceives even emotionally intelligent people. Someone can sit across from you, laugh at your jokes, share entertaining stories, and even offer moments that seem vulnerable on the surface. But if you pay close attention, it you'll realize you're not actually accessing the real person. You're experiencing a carefully curated presentation. People with permanent emotional walls have perfected the art of making others feel close without actually allowing closeness. They'll give you a tour of the exterior of their life while keeping every meaningful door locked. You can admire the facade, it maybe step into a few surface rooms, but the spaces where real stories live remain inaccessible. This differs fundamentally from healthy boundaries. Boundaries protect both people while they gradually build trust. A permanent wall is a defense mechanism constructed brick by brick through experiences of opening up, getting hurt, and deciding never again. Every previous relationship has contributed material to that fortress. You'll notice when conversations consistently hover at surface level, ask about fears, formative experiences, or defining moments, and watch the pivot. Perhaps they deflect with humor, respond in vague generalities, or smoothly redirect the conversation so skillfully you barely register the evasion. But you'll feel something's being withheld. This creates a dangerous dynamic. People seeking genuine connection naturally share parts of themselves first, hoping to inspire reciprocal vulnerability. You open up about struggles, aspirations, and past pain, and they respond warmly in ways that suggest understanding, but their responses lack matching depth. They're reacting, not reciprocating. Over time, you're investing far more emotionally than you're receiving, pouring into a relationship that's fundamentally capped from the start. When conflict inevitably arrives, the wall becomes impenetrable. Instead of working through difficulties together, they might shut down completely, create distance, or simply decide the relationship isn't working. That's not confusion. That's the wall doing exactly what it was designed to do, keeping them protected at all costs. The third pattern reveals itself through an unusually extensive network of male friends and acquaintances. Now, genuine platonic friendships certainly exist, but when someone's social circle is overwhelmingly male, when their phone constantly lights up with messages from men you've never met, when they have a relevant story about this one guy friend, for virtually every topic, you're observing a pattern, not a coincidence. People who maintain constant orbits of opposite sex attention aren't simply naturally gregarious. Often, it's a validation loop. There's a steady stream of attention confirming desirability, worth, and relevance. And that becomes psychologically addictive. Notice the details. Do they stay in regular contact with multiple ex-partners? Do they have male best friends who have clearly expressed romantic interest that's supposedly been rejected but never quite eliminated? When you inquire about these relationships, are concerns dismissed with harmless or we've known each other forever? Yet somehow these harmless friends send late night texts and conveniently call when you're unavailable. Another indicator is minimal or strained same-sex friendships. Deep friendships with women require emotional reciprocity and vulnerability. That's more demanding to maintain when someone has trained themselves to seek validation through quick, It's surface level attention from men. Male friends often provide attention and implicit flirtation without requiring genuine emotional depth. There's also frequently an unspoken backup plan operating beneath conscious awareness. They may believe they're loyal, but subconsciously doors remain open. If the current relationship ends or hits difficulty, those orbiting friends can be promoted to active prospects within days. There's no starting over, just a roster waiting to be activated. The fourth pattern is perhaps the most insidious because it operates as manipulation disguised as affection. This is when physical and emotional intimacy becomes transactional currency rather than genuine expression of connection. Here's how it unfolds. Tension exists between you. Perhaps you've disagreed, declined a request, or questioned something inconsistent. Suddenly, their entire demeanor shifts. They become softer, more affectionate, perhaps physically seductive. The tension dissolves. You feel close again. Problem seemingly solved. But the actual problem hasn't been addressed. It's been purchased off. The underlying issue remains unresolved. It's simply papered over with physical or emotional intimacy used strategically to restore equilibrium on their terms. Conversely, when they're displeased, intimacy immediately vanishes. Not because they're genuinely not in the mood, but because they've learned that withdrawing closeness provokes a predictable reaction. It functions as punishment dressed up as boundaries. Your desire for connection becomes leverage for obtaining apologies, favors, or silence. This isn't natural intuition. It's learned strategy. People who have cycled through numerous short-term relationships often discover which tools most efficiently restore control. Physical intimacy, when weaponized, taps simultaneously into biology, emotion, and ego, making it devastatingly effective. The critical element is timing. Pay attention to when affection flows and when it evaporates. Is it spontaneous or does it reliably appear immediately after you've done something they wanted? Does it vanish precisely when they're displeased? If the timing seems too consistent to be coincidental, it probably isn't. When intimacy transforms into currency, love becomes a business transaction. And in that arrangement, you're never truly an equal partner. You're a customer who doesn't realize they're paying. If the fifth pattern involves exceptional skill at reading and controlling others, there's a meaningful distinction between someone who naturally understands people and someone who has systematically studied them. The first is intuitive, empathetic, observant. The second is deliberate. Having essentially conducted private research on human behavior through numerous relationships, learning exactly which psychological buttons to press and when. Initially, it feels wonderful. They compliment you in ways that land exactly where your ego lives. They notice details you wish others saw. Your strengths, your aspirations, how you carry yourself. You feel understood in a rare way. But genuine understanding develops over time. Instant perfect compatibility often reflects how quickly they've decoded you. They can identify your strengths and crucially, your insecurities faster than you'd imagine. Once they have that psychological map, they can manipulate your emotional state like playing an instrument. When they want to draw you closer, they feed your pride. When they want to destabilize you, they probe the cracks in your confidence. One moment you're their hero, the next you're questioning yourself and craving their reassurance. The manipulation remains subtle. They're not making obvious demands. They're shaping your emotional landscape in ways that maintain their control while keeping you perpetually invested and uncertain simultaneously. Many people mistake this dynamic for passion, confusing emotional volatility with deep connection. The highs feel intoxicating. The lows trigger chase behavior. Before long, you're addicted to the cycle. That's not love, it's conditioning. If the sixth pattern appears in the complete absence of discretion about past intimate experiences. This isn't about expecting perfection or policing anyone's history. It's about recognizing that natural privacy and selectivity around intimate topics actually protects emotional connection. When that discretion is entirely absent, it reveals something important about how they view intimacy and potentially how they'll view you. Someone without healthy discretion doesn't just mention past relationships. They discuss them casually, offering vivid details almost as if broadcasting experience as a selling point. There's no hesitation, no sense that certain things are too personal for general conversation. That's because to them, they genuinely aren't personal anymore. Repetition has normalized what should feel private. When something intimate happens repeatedly, it stops feeling rare. When it's not rare, it's not sacred. Watch their reaction to questions about their past. If they become immediately defensive, flip the conversation back on you, or accuse you of being insecure or judgmental, that's not just deflection. It's an unwillingness to acknowledge how past patterns might impact present dynamics. This lack of boundaries often extends into how they handle your relationship too. Just as they casually share intimate details from their past, they may share details about you with others. The line between private and public becomes dangerously thin. The seventh pattern emerges as a consistent history of brief relationships. At first glance, this might seem unremarkable. Dating doesn't always work out. People move on. But when you notice genuine consistency, relationships that never extend beyond a few months, connections that ignite intensely then vanish suddenly, that's not unfortunate coincidence. That's a repeating blueprint. Each relationship follows the same arc. Intense initial attraction, rapid escalation, then equally rapid collapse. They'll describe endings as mutual or just not meant to be, but look carefully at their narrative. The explanations center on external factors, timing, circumstances, the other person's shortcomings. Never on their own inability to build something sustainable. This matters because genuine long-term connection isn't forged during the honeymoon phase. It develops during the work that comes after. When conflicts arise, novelty fades, and you navigate differences. That's where depth forms. If someone has never remained long enough to experience that stage, they've never developed the capacity to handle it. This pattern also suggests addiction to the high of new attraction. The butterflies, constant communication, the rush of being desired, it's genuinely intoxicating. Like any addiction, once the initial high diminishes, they start seeking their next fix. But lasting relationships require stability, which doesn't provide the same neurochemical rush as novelty. When you step back and observe these seven patterns together, a coherent picture emerges. This isn't about harsh judgment of someone's past. It's about recognizing how accumulated experiences create behavioral patterns that shape present capacity for connection. Each sign is a thread in a larger tapestry, revealing whether someone can build the type of relationship you're seeking. Too many people ignore these warnings because attraction blinds them or because they hope to be the exception. They believe their love will change ingrained patterns. But patterns don't transform simply because someone cares. They change when a person decides to deliberately confront and rework them, which is genuinely rare. These patterns, the absence of natural boundaries around intimacy, permanent emotional fortification, constant need for external validation, transactional intimacy, calculated manipulation, disregard for discretion, and inability to sustain long-term connection, aren't random traits. They're footprints of accumulated experience. And those footprints reveal a clear direction. Your responsibility is paying attention, seeing the path those footprints create it, and consciously deciding whether that destination aligns with where you want your life to go. Your standards aren't negotiable. It protect them as if your future depends on it, because it genuinely does.